Okay, so the next transformation we are going to learn about is reflections. So a reflection is a transformation that uses a line like a mirror to reflect a figure. So you always think about a figure being reflected over a line. So that mirroring line is called a line of reflection. So that reflection maps every point to a point that is the same distance from that line. So as long as it's not on the line, these create a perpendicular bisector. And what that means is, if I connected my pre-image to my image, P to P prime, that means the distance from P to the line is the same as P prime to the line. So each point is the same distance from the line. And that imaginary segment that they make is perpendicular to the line. Okay? If the point is on the line, if our pre-image point is on the line, the image would be on the line because they're both 0 units away from that line. The distance from that line is 0. So what we're going to do is we are going to reflect this triangle over the line of reflection. So the very first thing, I'm going to do this in red, is graph the triangle. So 1, 3, 5, 2, and then 2, 1. So that's A, B, C. And that is my triangle. That's my pre-image. Now I am reflecting over the line x equals 3. So that is the vertical line when x is 1, 2, 3. So that is this vertical line. Okay. So we have to be careful about how we graph these because we're reflecting over this line. So if I reflect A, if we look at A, it is to the left 2 of this line. So A prime, the image of A, would be 2 to the right of that line of reflection. So A prime would be right here. If we look at B, it is 2 to the right of our line of reflection. So B prime would be 2 to the left of that line of reflection. C is 1 to the left of our line of reflection, so C prime would be 1 to the right. So it's kind of funky because they overlap, but it's kind of like I'm folding this triangle over this line or mirroring each point over the line. So you've got to do it point by point to reflect over a line. So in the next example, it's the same exact triangle. I should use red again. So my pre-image is red. A, B, C. And I'm reflecting over the line y equals 1. So that is a horizontal line when y is 1. So for me to reflect over this line, for A, it's 2 above, so A prime will be 2 below in the opposite direction. B is 1 above, B prime would be 2 below. And then C is on the line of reflection, so C prime is in that same exact point. So if I flip over that line, that should make sense. These are the same size, they're the same shape. So next, I want you guys to try a reflection. So good chance to pause the video. Use the triangle from the last example, ABC, okay, to graph the image, the pre-image, and the image after the reflection. Okay, so I'm going to give you a chance to look at these reflections and then think about how I drew the line and how I drew my image. So make sure it's a lot of counting, really. So these reflecting over a vertical or a horizontal line is a lot of counting. So it's just being able to look at which direction you're going. Okay, so double check your answers, and then when you're ready, we can move on to the next. Okay, so in this example 2, we are reflecting over the line y equals x. So what I'm going to do is I'm first going to graph the line we're reflecting over. This is not a horizontal or vertical line. This is a line with a y-intercept of 0 and a slope of 1. So that means y-intercept is 0 and a slope of 1 would be and I'm not going to do it perfectly, but that line. Okay, so we are reflecting over that line. What would be helpful here? Obviously to graph, but also to write out your points. Okay, so to write out your points, you're going to have F is -1, 2. G is just 1, 2. So I only gave you 2 points here. So it's a segment. So -1, +2, and 1, +2. So this is a horizontal segment. And what we need to know is the rule for reflecting over this line y = x. So I'm going to give you that rule. And I'm going to give you a rule sheet to follow also. That's going to help you with the functions. So reflecting over the line y = x is this. You have points you're given. The way this transforms those points is that it swaps x and y. So for me to represent this reflection, f becomes 2, -1. I just swap x and y. G becomes 2, 1, swapping x and y. So my image is going to be the point. For G, it's going to be, or for F, I'll do F first, sorry. 2, -1. So 1, 2, -1. And then G is going to be 2, 1. So this is F prime, this is the image of F, and the image of G. So we kind of like if we had a piece of paper and we folded it on this green line, that's where FG would end up. Okay? So reflecting over the line y = x swaps x and y. Next, reflecting over the line y = -x. So y = -x is a line with a y-intercept still of 0, but a slope of -1. So I'm going to draw my slope of -1. And here it's a little bit different. So I'm going to have FG, and I got to remember FG 1, 2, or -1, 2. -1, +2 was F, and then 1, 2 was G. Oops, sorry. G, 1, +2 is G, so F, G. So for this, I'm still going to write out my initial 2 points. I think this is the best way to do it. And then G was 2, 1, 2. So we're going to describe this transformation. So over the line y = -x, and this will be on your formula sheet too, takes your x and y values, it does 2 things. It swaps both of them, and it makes them the opposite sign. This doesn't just make them both negative. This makes those the opposite sign. So F becomes -2, +1. I swapped x and y, and I changed their signs. G becomes -2, -1. So my image will look like this. F would be -2, +1. G would be -2, -1. So that's F prime, G prime. So the image of F, image of G. So it's like we're folding on that green line again. So it's very important, if you're not good at visualizing these, which is tough, to write out the points and be able to find those points. So I'm going to give you a minute to try guided practices 3 and 4, and then you can check your answers with me when you are ready. Okay, so here, I just drew my lines of reflection, I plotted my points, and then I applied the transformations. So over the x-axis, I don't really think I need to write out the points to help me, so I'm just going to reflect it by counting. And then for 4, all I did was I drew the line, and I took y = -x, which means I swap x and y, and I change their signs. Okay, so moving ahead, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to show this glide reflection, and then I'm going to do a short video on symmetry after this. So I'm going to have you take this step and then actually take this example and move on to the next step in the lesson. Okay, so to show you this quickly, I've got a triangle, point 3, 1, 2, 3, 2, 6, 3, and 7, 1. So that's A, B, C. So this right here, two transformations. I'm doing a translation and a reflection. So the translation I'm going to use green to show. The reflection I'm going to use blue to show. So the translation, all this translation really means, it means we just go left 12. So A becomes, we go left 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. B is just 3 to the right and up 1 from A, and then C is down 2 and right 1 from B. So this is A prime, B prime, C prime. Okay? So there's my translation. My reflection now is just me reflecting this translation over the x-axis. So I go down 2 for A, down 1 for C, down 1, 2, 3 for B. So I'm going to use a double marking for each of these to show A, B, and C. Okay? So that's 2 transformations in a row. Glide reflection is 2 transformations in a row. We do the translation and then the reflection. This one we'd have to do both steps. Okay, we got to show each step. So this helps. So I shifted it and then I reflected it. So you can move on to the next step in the lesson. I'll have a short video on symmetry once you're finished with the next step.